Hello SUMC, Rob here reporting in from one of SUMC Music's satellite offices with some more thoughts and another friendly check-in to continue to hope you're safe and well and to encourage you to stay in touch. I took a deep dive into the choir director check-in archives this week, and yes, there are archives. I want to preserve evidence that I've actually done 267 of these things. It's a lot of work, and who knows, it might get me a job someday? Boy can dream. Anyway, I discovered that in the 5+ years I've been making these videos, I've had 5 previous opportunities to address the topic of Memorial Day. Mysteriously, I never have.
Wait, what?
So here you go. Inside the SUMC building, as American holidays go, Memorial Day is a little less fraught than, say, the 4th of July. Memorial Day specifically remembers Americans who served in the military and lost their lives doing so. Since the draft was ended, people have had lots of different reasons for going into the military. Not all of them were altruistic or particularly patriotic. No knock on that. Sometimes in exchange for 4 years of service, people have looked forward to getting help with their education in return, for example. And it's safe to say that not all of our American military ventures have been provably in the service of defending democracy and freedom and such, and that's another topic for another venue. But I can only imagine that in the heat of battle, not metaphorical but actual, the gospel according to John, chapter 15, verse 13, really does ring true. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. I presume that in the heat of the moment, you're looking after everybody else in your squad, platoon, unit, group, don't know the right terminology. You're wanting to make sure everybody makes it back to the barracks or wherever, alive and in one piece. This video isn't really about that, which again is another topic for another venue, but it's an important one, including how we take care of the people who do come back from war and war-like moments, physically and psychologically. This video, rather, is about what we do in SUMC Music World to commemorate Memorial Day. Being a band guy, I'm used to this commemoration. I've marched in parades and stood at parade rest during ceremonies, both as a public school student and as an adult. In that context, marching in a band, it's easy to spot kind of what's expected. In a church setting, here or anywhere, if you're keeping in mind the gospel and such, you're not in support of war or violence or any of that. And we've had people, pastors in fact, who would just as soon not give any nod to the whole concept of Memorial Day on a Sunday morning, in the spirit of not glorifying war and violence. When I was a little kid here at SUMC, there were a lot of congregation members who worked at a little mom-and-pop local business in town called Raytheon, which was famously a rather important military contractor. It gave us the Patriot missile and radar systems and things like that. And there were a lot of people in the congregation who were veterans, who fought in World War II and the Korean War. So there was enthusiasm for Memorial Day, Veterans Day, those sorts of things. I always had the impression that the Methodist hymnal that came before our current one, which is as old as I am,
Hello there.
contained many more overtly generically patriotic American songs in it than our current one does. That was my memory. In our current hymnal are My Country 'Tis of Thee, America the Beautiful, God of the Ages, number 698, which was written to commemorate this country's 100th birthday in 1876 by a Civil War private who became an Episcopal priest, and the Battle Hymn of the Republic. More on that in a moment. The Navy hymn, better known as Eternal Father Strong to Save, is in the Faith We Sing, our secondary hymnal, and the choir will sing that one Sunday morning. I have assumed that it was added into the Faith We Sing because it was left out of the 1989 Methodist hymnal that we use today. Sure enough, it had appeared in Methodist hymnals published in 1966, 1935, and 1905. So yeah. But my memory of the vastly greater number of patriotic hymns in the 1966 hymnal that I grew up with? Mistaken. Same number, both books. There's a great article up at umcdiscipleship.org called Why Aren't There More Patriotic Songs in Our Hymnal? It's by Dean McIntyre, and it lists lots of potentially patriotism-inflected hymns, some of which are in our hymnal, some of which aren't, which also addresses the question, and I didn't know that it needed to be addressed as a question, of why the Star-Spangled Banner and the God Bless America tune have never been included in any of the 4 previous 20th century Methodist hymnals. My reasoning for that would have been simple. The Methodist hymnal isn't just used in this country, y'all. There are people in this country whose heads would explode if they saw O Canada included in our hymnal, are there not? One interesting paragraph from Mr. McIntyre's essay says about God Bless America, quote, Our current hymnal's contents were determined in part by requests from the entire church, and there were very few requests for its inclusion, compared to the thousands received in favor of the Battle Hymn of the Republic, for example. Which brings me back to the Battle Hymn of the Republic. For many years now, Kevin and I have played that melody, jointly, at the piano and organ, as a postlude on the Sunday morning before Memorial Day. Regardless of which pastor was on duty here at SUMC in the years since 2001, we have done that. Whether we've had the choir present similar sounding anthems on the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend, we have played the battle hymn at postlude. There were years when mention of Memorial Day was pointedly not included on a Sunday morning, for reasons which were perfectly noble if you were a student of the Gospels, but Kevin and I recognized that there were people in the congregation who would be troubled if we did not at least make passing mention of it, and we wanted to give a nod to it ourselves at least. And we've kept in our back pocket, in case we needed it, the fact that the battle hymn was inspired by an abolitionist song and was composed as a response to slavery during the Civil War. So at the very least, it does an okay job of lining up with, what the Gospels actually say. So that's the backstory about the postlude that we've always played and will play again this weekend. And about pages 696 and 697 in our UMC hymnal. Minefields, as it turns out, aren't found solely on the battlefield. Our lives as church musicians. Anyway, please check back here every Friday afternoon if you like for more video hellos here on SUMC's Facebook page or on the SUMC YouTube channel, Sudbury United Methodist Chur 2501. My email address will appear here momentarily. Please feel free to use it anytime for any reason. I'm always more than happy to talk or email or text back and forth with you about whatever we chat about here, including what I've chatted about today. Because no matter how, no matter what, doing the work at the church together is the big thing. Keep in touch. Keep the faith. Stay connected.